We have traversed Thailand in Ayutthaya. We have traversed Cambodia in the capital Phnom Penh. Now let's go to the Vietnamese capital, Ho Chi Minh, a city where Minh Nguyen is joining us. Minh, thank you so much for doing this special report for NewsX. Really appreciate the effort you put into this. So how was your experience? I believe you visited the Mariamman temple. How was your visit there?
So when I come here, the first thing I feel is very spiritual. Okay, everything is very quiet. I stay inside and I listen to my soul and feel very relaxed. And then the second thing is I super fascinating with all the structure, the material, and the architecture from here, from the color, from the god, and from the way that they make all this beautiful sightseeing. Okay, all the temple, and then the main color is gold and yellow, which make the temple much more lighter. And another one is I'm super fascinating is a lot of people come in, local people,
right,
tourist people, and Indian people. They come here to do their worship and to pray and ask pray for their luck.
So Minh, what have you learned about that temple particularly today that perhaps you weren't aware of earlier?
Okay, so this is not my first time to visit this place. It's actually 6 years ago. Me and my friend was here, but we just do a quick tour around in the main floor. And one thing I don't know about this place is they have an upper floor, which is the second floor, and then they have so many statues and a place to worship in an open area in the second place. Okay. So next time, if I come with my friend or family, I definitely take them to both floors, the main floor.
Now I know you filed that report for us, and we'll just go to that in just a second. But so, what stood out most in the temple complex? We can see it behind you. What stood out most to you while you were filing the report?
Okay, so the thing that surprised me the most is definitely the structure and the material. As we know, it's Vietnam used to be a colony of French, and later on is the colony of the United States. So our architecture is a little bit of Western style.
Interesting.
But here, when you come to this temple, everything is Asia and purely Hindu. So yeah, first thing I look, I said, oh, the color is why so many colors mixed together, and then it's make a perfectly beautiful temple.
Okay, Minh, I have to ask you this. It's a question that all of us don't perfectly know and understand because the history oftentimes is rather vague. But what does the words Champa or the Champa kingdom actually mean to you? What does Hinduism mean to you? How do you understand it sitting there in Ho Chi Minh City?
So according to the history, the Hindu people come to Vietnam very early, about the 2nd or 3rd of century. And most of them living in Binh Thuan or Ninh Thuan province, which is in the central of Vietnam. And when they come in as a royal, all of them is royal, but because Vietnam has so many wars, so they got almost wiped out. So right now, the population of the Hindu people in Vietnam is still there, but it's very little.
Okay, now to the best of my understanding, I'm told that the My Son complex, which used to be the political capital of the ancient Champa kingdom, it still exists today in Vietnam. Is that true? What can you tell us about the My Son complex?
You asked me about My Son complex. So My Son complex is the UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1999 and located in the central of Vietnam. And right now it's in Quảng Nam province. Okay, it's situated within the elevated geological basin surrounded by the rim of the mountain, which provide the watershed for the Tu Bom River, one of the biggest river in the central of Vietnam. And My Son is remarkable architecture that's developed over the period of 10th century. If I'm not wrong, it's come from the 4th century to the 13th century. And during the war, My Son has significant suffer from the bombing. But after 1975, when we got independent, the conservation and the restoration work is begin. And now it's become one of the most
correct my pronunciation.
in Quảng Nam province.
My Son. So in the complex itself, where does it fit in into modern day Vietnamese thought in terms of its historical and cultural preservation?
Misa is very crucial because it's a unique evidence to show to the young generation that all the Hindu people is come here and exist in Vietnam very early. And today, Misa is help people to understand the culture of the Hindu people. And right now the government of Vietnam is doing the culture preservation on a daily basis.
Okay.
And as far as I know, every year they have a budget to restore and renovation the Misa complex.
Okay.
And the young generation, as us, we should come and visit Misa as we have time to know what Misa look like, and we can appreciate more about the history as well as the blending culture between Vietnam and India.
Okay, so Min, for us sitting here in India, and of course you're sitting there in Ho Chi Minh City, do we really understand that there is a 1,000, 2,000-year-old civilizational link, that actually there is a lot of closeness in our shared history and culture, or have we just in modern day sort of disconnected from it? What do you make of these ties as you see it as a Vietnamese?
According to the history, the Hindu people come to Vietnam very early.
Yeah.
On the 2nd and 3rd century, they're already here. And most of them living in the Ninh Thuận and Binh Thuận province, which is right in the central of Vietnam. At first, they come here as a royal class, just like a king, a queen, a princess. Okay? They do all the high-end class work. They don't do all the labor work. But when the war come out, and they got almost wiped out. Okay, so sadly, and nowadays there's still Hindu people in Vietnam, but the population is very little. But the existing help to Vietnamese people to understand more about the culture and the history, which earlier we have we have a blend culture, Vietnamese and Hindu as well.
Okay. All right. Just okay. Let's hop across, because I know you filed that report from us from the temple complex and where you're standing in the Vietnamese capital. Let's listen into that report.
This is modern-day Vietnam, a clear mix of Buddhist, Chinese and to a large extent, French colonial influence. But in 2020, findings of the ASI left the world stunned when a monolithic shivling dating to the 9th century CE was unearthed in central Vietnam at the magnificent My Son Sanctuary. Every turn in the sanctuary points to a deep civilizational connect between India and Vietnam. The ruins of My Son serve as testament to the ancient Hindu civilizational ethos that ran deep in Vietnam and continue to be preserved till date. A group of ancient Hindu temples dedicated to Lord Shiv, My Son was built between 4th and 14th century by the Champa kings of Vietnam. It was used for religious ceremonies and as a burial ground for Cham royalty and national heroes. My Son was closely connected to Champa cities of Indrapura and Simhapura. It included about 71 temples along with several stone inscriptions in both Sanskrit and Cham. While much of My Son complex was destroyed during the Vietnam War, there is now a clear effort from the Vietnamese as well as the Indian governments to work closely in the preservation of the My Son complex, which continues to serve as a reminder of Vietnam's glorious Hindu past. Today, NewsX takes you for the first time ever to the Mariamman Temple.
So we are in the Mandir Temple, which is right in the heart of Ho Chi Minh City, District 1. And for those of you who don't know where District 1 is, so District 1 is when it's all the main building is, all the main government building is, like City Hall, like Independence Palace. And if you're heading this way for about 5 minutes, you're gonna meet the most iconic market, is Benton Market. And if you're heading this way about 5 more minutes, you're gonna hit the most greenest park in this city, we call Taudan Park. And right in front of you is the most unique Hindu temple, we call Mandir Temple. And look at the outside, okay? You see, very colorful, okay? You see all the lion, the god, and built all the way up is very high. And look at all the color, unique and very distinctive, and it's beautiful. Okay, so now I'm gonna take you a quick tour to go inside. Okay, we have both sides with the lion. So the lion is represent for a guardian. Okay, so the lion here to protect the temple, make sure that nothing bad has happened. Okay, so look at the lion. Okay, and with the beautiful thing on top. Okay. And then people, when they come in, if they want to pray for their lucky, their joy, and their happiness, they put some fruit in here. Okay, there's fruits of lion. We have Brahma, we have Muruga, Parvati, Shiva, Mariamman, Ganesha, Shiva family, and Vishnu. And in here is the name of this temple, Mariamman. Okay, so this temple is so this just talk a little bit background this temple. This temple was built in early 20th century. Okay, so the purpose of building this is because by that time there's a small population of the Hindu people. They want to find a place to do their worship. So that's why they build this temple. And this thing very especially for this temple is all the material is all import from India, okay? And the structure is come from the tamine from India. Okay, look at the structure on top, okay, see? And the main color is always yellow, okay? So, and then on the top, right? And we have some god up there always with the elephant, okay? The elephant represents for the power. So in here, so we have a stick, and then we just, okay. And the side that said only one stick for one person, okay? So just take one only. So I take one, okay? And now I go to the main place for worship. Okay, so take up your shoe before you go to the main place. So if you come to Vietnam, I hope you have time to visit this place. It's located in right District 1. And then if you don't know where to call it, you can ask the local people where is the Indian temple is in District 1.
This beautiful Hindu temple is yet another example of India's close cultural and historic ties with Vietnam. Bureau Report, NewsX.
All right, my many thanks and gratitude to Min Nguyen for joining us and getting us that special report. Let's open up this conversation. On the broadcast with us is now Ambassador Pham Son Chow. He is the former Vietnamese ambassador to India. Also joining us on the broadcast is Dr. Lê Thị Hằng Na, She's a senior researcher at the Vietnam Academy of Social Sciences. Ambassador Chow, privilege and a treat to have you back with us on NewsX. Thank you for taking out the time. Really appreciate it. Let me start with the obvious. You know, when I come to work, ladies and gentlemen, I travel on the Ho Chi Minh Road in the heart of New Delhi. And to a modern Indian, that's probably the realistic imagination of a connection to Vietnam. Ambassador Chow, where does the historic connection really begin? What do you know?
Let me send you the heartfelt congratulations to the whole Indian people for this auspicious day before the inaugurations of the Ram Temple. I got a lot of phone call from my friends in India. They are so excited and they are saying that the whole India is beautiful, decorated, and all is set to the auspicious day tomorrow. Now, in terms of the connection between India and Vietnam, I want to stress on two features. The first one is that, as you mentioned in the previous broadcast, there's a link between Champa Kingdom of Vietnam and Chola Kingdom in India. And the two kingdoms have exchanged a gift, and they also exchange a princess and princess. They have cross marriage.
Wow.
And that's therefore and thanks to that, Vietnam, which was part of Indochina, and Indochina means that Vietnam is influenced by two civilizations, Chinese civilization and Indian civilization. And Chinese civilization is more felt in the northern part of Vietnam, whereas Indian civilization is more felt in the southern part of Vietnam, starting from former Champa region down. And therefore, we can say that the link between our two countries went it back long when we have a Champa, which is a Hindu country. That is the first link. The second link is that it's less than. We also some scholars said that Buddhism came from Hinduism, and Buddhism came to Vietnam of the second century, and that's thanks to that. Now Vietnam became a Buddhist country, and all thanks to the fact that Buddhism starting spreading from Bodh Gaya, from India. So I think that is the two major links that now still connect the two countries.
It's absolutely fascinating, Ambassador Chow. Now, of course, you've lived here in India, and you know that there is a boom now. A lot of Indians are traveling to Vietnam. They're rediscovering Vietnam, and there's a tourism boom happening in Vietnam. But do we really understand that there is a familiarity to our civilizational, cultural heritage that is all too obvious? But we've sort of lost connect. I mean, it's not the first thing you think of, is that actually, we have a 2,000-year-old shared history.
That is true. Firstly, because the capital of Vietnam is, I would like to correct that Hanoi is the capital of Vietnam.
Yes, sorry. Yes. Thank you for the correction. Yes.
And Hanoi is located in the northern part of Vietnam. And northern part of Vietnam is more influenced by Chinese civilization and culture. And whereas in the southern part of Vietnam, especially the center part of Vietnam, where we have the temple, My Son Temple, is in the center part of Vietnam and is 100% influenced by Indian civilization. So sometimes people only think that we are just influenced by Chinese civilization, which is not true, because the name itself, Indochina, has depicted the connected link between two of us.
Okay.
And the reason why we have that absence, because we lack a direct air link. And since we have established, during my term, we have established 17 direct air link, and the people came to know more about Vietnam.
Yes.
And they came go to Da Nang, and bear in mind that all the head of state of India, when they come to Vietnam, they only spend 1 day or 2 days to Da Nang to visit the Mission Temple, because we see a lot of Indian civilization and legacy there.
Okay, so what is, for people who might not be aware, I mean, we've tried to give a glimpse through the concept of this report, but what is Mission about? What's the history of Mission that you understand, sir?
Let people understand that Vietnam is not only influenced by Chinese Confucianism, that's number one, but Vietnam is also influenced by Indian culture, Indian civilization, apart from Buddhism. The fact that the Lord Ram mean a lot to us in different way, because Lord Ram for us is not only the righteous king, righteous husband, but also reflect for us gender equity. I mean, he only married to one wife, and he has devoted to whole his life to rescue, to love, to her love. He
Interesting.
also the person of integrity. So for us, that is, I think that if we make a comparison between Confucianism I put Ramism, because we see
Interesting.
that that is some point which is very interesting. That is the first point. Between the two, also we see the responsibility, we see devotion, we see integrity, but friendship is also important, but it reflects more in the Ramism, according to me. And Ramism in Vietnam, we also, it's not reflected only in the temple of Mason, which is a UNESCO site and former kingdom of Champa, but
Yes.
also it more in Chakio. If you talk about Indonesia, Bali is the genuine Hinduist city
Yes.
outside. Yeah. So if you talk about Chakio now is mostly is a ruin city, but it reflects a lot a lot Ram has engraved in stone there. And depicted as the seven formation of Lord Vishnu.
Yes.
So if you go there, if you go there, you see an Indian lost civilization, which is also on that criteria
Okay,
of a lost
I like it.
civilization.
You're referring to Ramism and a lost Indian civilization in Vietnam. Let me put the same thought to Dr. Lay. Dr. Lee, what is your understanding of the Ramayana and the teaching of the epic, and what form have you found them in Vietnamese culture?
It's very much a part of Vietnamese culture. I think everybody in Vietnam would, when you mention the word Ramayana, I think it touched the heart of almost all Vietnamese people. And in our textbook also, we also teach about Ramayana. And and nowadays, like the number of people who are more interested in learning, studying about Indian culture. And I think Ramayana is maybe a very the best start to learn about the
Okay,
Indian culture.
so doctor, I have to ask the champa is a flower here in India, and this was the kingdom of Champa. What is your understanding then of the kingdom of Champa? What mark has it left on Vietnamese history and modern society? Because we're talking about temples to Lord Vishnu, to Lord Shiva, that were part of these of this complex that were built under the Champa kingdom. What do you understand of these roots?
The Champa kingdom is one of the first kingdoms in Vietnamese history, and it showed that Vietnam-India cultural interaction has a very deep root, and it has like it started since time immemorial. And the Champa kingdom also showed that it is interesting to know that one of the first Hindu kingdom in Southeast Asia was located in a part that is today Vietnam. Like many people would think that maybe the Hindu kingdom came to Cambodia or Indonesia or Thailand, but I think less people know that the first Hindu kingdom came to Vietnam. The Champa kingdom was among the first Hindu kingdom in Southeast Asia. And nowadays also we can see many Champa tower throughout the central and the south of Vietnam. And
Okay.
it is the living proof of Vietnam-India
Okay.
cultural interaction.
So Dr. Lay, obviously a lot of people watching this broadcast in India and other parts, and Indians all across the world, they'll probably be familiar reasonably now over the years with Angkor Wat in Cambodia. But we've been discussing for the past half an hour. We spoke with the ambassador as well about Mission. Can you tell us a bit more about it? This complex?
I think the Mission Sanctuary now is a part of the Vietnam-India cultural interaction, and it is also interesting that today the archaeologists, with the help of with the cooperation of Indian archaeologists also and Vietnamese archaeologists, we have excavated new discoveries. Like recently, as you may know, in 2020, we also discovered the 9th century Shiva Stupa, which means that it also shows that there are lots of India-Vietnam cultural interaction that may have not been discovered. And the Mission Sanctuary is the living, and again, I would like to emphasize the Mission complex is the living proof of Vietnam-India cultural interaction. And it also tells the beauty of the Vietnam-India cultural interaction. Now, many Indian leaders, when they visit Vietnam, they would also like to start with they would take time to visit.
Dr. Lay, as you were speaking, let me see if I can refer it back. We just showed the photograph of the 1,000-year-old shivling, and of course, you refer to it as a stupa because the architectural design style is same, but that comes from the amalgamation of Buddhism into it. You just saw it there. 1,000-year-old shivling in Vietnam. I remember the ambassador, Jaishankar, our foreign minister, had spoken about it. There it is on your screens. Okay, so what do these, Professor, what do these findings tell us about this Indic civilizational link that at least is 1,000 years old, perhaps 2,000 years old?
I think this cultural heritage, like the Champa Kingdom, the story of Ramayana, that has come and stayed in the mind of the people in Vietnam and also many other countries in Southeast Asia. And this bonding, this influence or this interaction is very, very deep, in my opinion. But it comes into the heart of the people, but it's not always visible. So I feel that the Indian influence in Vietnam or in Southeast Asia is much stronger than we think, because it has become an inseparable part of our culture. So sometimes we cannot distinguish it. So we cannot separate what is Indian Indic culture, what is our indigenous culture.
Yeah.
But I feel that the influence, the aspect of the Indic culture is very deep, very deep. I think the words are insufficient to express. But when you learn, when you feel, when you study, you can feel it. Yeah, it becomes part of your human being. Yeah.
Okay, it's so fascinating just listening to all of you. It is so familiar yet so different at the same time. Absolutely fascinating. I really appreciate Dr. Lay. Thank you for joining us. My many thanks to the good ambassador as well, and for the work that he's done in making sure that at least there are flights to Vietnam now, 17 as we now know, that we can now at least travel and see these places. Absolutely fascinating. Thank you so much. Stay with us.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.